Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to 357 Radio, your sort of weekly advice column for all things Masonic and just maddening behavior. I am one of your hosts, Worshipful Brother Drew, joined by none other than the psychonautic Gnostic, Brother Blair. How are you, sir?
Doing well, and I am not sponsored by Bush.
Not sponsored by Canada Dry either.
Good to know.
Yes, it is a little weird.
Standard...
Yes, standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions shared in this podcast do not reflect any Grand Lodge position or statement or edict. This is us being real with you guys for the next hour or so. Also, if you may have noticed, we're missing someone. He's hiding in your backyard, apparently?
Yes, apparently that is the case. I've been looking for him. I haven't spotted him yet.
I think Cal found him.
That's disturbing. God only knows what he's doing to him.
Something involving cows, probably. Yes, unfortunately, Brother Moonstrong could not be with us for this recording. So, in his missing stead, he has sent us questions, and boy, did he send us questions. So, for the next couple minutes, we are going to reminisce on those questions and go back and forth. So, if you don't mind, Brother Blair, I would like to start off with his first question to you. If one conspiracy theory about the craft had to be made a reality, which would you choose?
Well, I'm not too keen on the satanic rituals and baby eating, so I'm going to have to go with we rule the world. I think that would be
mentally painful.
It would. That is a large burden to bear. But I see it this way. If the world was a little more Masonic, we would be more tolerant of each other and we would get along better. Now, of course, it still wouldn't be perfect. You would still have some bad discourse. But if we were governed in a way that we couldn't just rip each other's throats out, that would be nice.
I mean, that's the overall premise of most, if not all, positive fraternities or social clubs or anything like that, is the basis for just goodwill toward other humans.
Right.
And if we truly did run the world like the conspiracy theorists said, at least having those, like you said, guidelines, I guess you could call them, would definitely put people in their place.
Right. Our kind offices extend to everyone.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, sure.
I wonder how many people got mad at me for this hat. A lot of people liked it, but some people didn't.
Did you get any comments?
I've got nothing but positive feedback from this hat.
Fascinating.
From both my internet brethren and my local brethren.
Well, that gives me a little more hope in humanity.
Yes, but there's also certain brethren that did not comment and did not like my post that I kind of expected.
Yes. Just ignore it and it will go away.
Right. Yes, ignore it. Right.
Don't look it in the eye.
Which eye?
The third one? That one right there.
There's 5 holes. Wait, what? It's the one behind the knee.
I mean, however you get your rocks off. I mean, more power to you.
Yeah. There's no shame. No shaming here whatsoever.
No kink shamings.
No.
Maybe some kink ask why. Maybe some of that.
Yes, I can ask, but I'm not going to shame.
Ask, don't tell.
Wait, no. This isn't Georgia. So I'll just go right in to the next question then. From obviously Brother Moonstrung to Brother Blair, does the scholarly approach to review and discuss of religion or politics give it a place in Lodge? That's kind of a
Well,
weird worded question. Does the
right.
scholarly approach to review and discussion of religion or politics give it a place in Lodge? To you,
Well, not at a stated meeting, not in a tiled lodge, but I'm all for having nights set aside to discuss those things for anyone who wants to participate. I think that would be great to have like a night where you talk politics and religion in a scholarly way. Try and leave your bias at the door. I
that
as much as you can,
that is the hardest thing. And we all have to admit that, leaving your bias at the door.
because we all have it.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
all have it.
We all have it. Our confirmation bias, our no true Scotsman fallacies, our just look at, I mean, there's a website called Your Bias Is. So yeah, you have it. End of story.
Need to link me to that. It's like one of those little fun quizzes.
Actually, no, it just lists all the different biases and you can buy them as either a poster or playing cards. And it's meant for
Ooh,
like a flashcard exercise. It's not like one of those fun little things. It's like it just gives you the example or gives you the definition, gives you an example if there's not already a specific one. And then yeah.
so maybe not so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that would be very cool to have a night where you get together and you don't have to participate. It can be voluntary, like, hey, show up if you want to. If you're one of those guys who has a really strong bias that you know you're going to pick a fight, don't come.
And
Ooh.
this is Your Bias Is. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 12. So there's 24 different biases listed on this site. Obviously, know thyself here. And then, yeah, you can get critical thinking cards, help save the world from itself on Patreon, and then posters and whatnot, and all these resources. But if you click on one of these little icons up at the top, it'll bring you to, when it loads, there we go, each individual bias. The first one I clicked on is called anchoring. Little pictures, obviously, of an anchor from a ship. And the bias of anchoring is the first thing you judge influences your judgment of all that follows. Wow.
Ooh, that
Wow.
I have fallen for that one.
I
I will
all of us
admit.
have. All of us have. And if you the key is knowing whether or not you have fallen for it and whether or not you have improved yourself. It's anchoring, the sunk cost fallacy. I just learned about this today. You irrationally cling to things that all have already cost you something. This could mean both financially and mentally or spiritually or things like that. The availability heuristic. Your judgments are influenced by what springs most easily to mind. The curse of knowledge. This is my favorite one. Once you understand something, you presume it is obvious to everyone else.
Oh yeah.
It's and coming from, especially from the land of TikTok and other social medias where you try to educate people on what Freemasonry is, at least in our little niche background. Yeah, this is a heavy one. But these are just some of the ones that were on this page. So I just thought you would enjoy uh, that.
That's like where you'll be talking to someone, you'll be like, well, that's common knowledge. That's
Exactly, and
street
it's not.
smart. Come on,
And,
everybody knows that.
and it's not. Like, my wife is lily white suburb girl. She does not know about illicit drugs because she was very much stuck inside. Whereas, as much as I did live in the suburbs, I had some urban youth friends that trained me on these things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Uh,
All right,
that's
next question.
kind of
What's up?
that reminds me. So, like, I started working in the mental health field in some schools not too far from where I live,
Okay.
and like drugs are rampant.
Okay.
Like, I'm talking like the hardcore will kill you drugs. And I always assumed, because I was pretty sheltered, that there's only like a handful of that kind of stuff happening. There's like, well, maybe a group of people here and there.
We're
But
talking
no,
about like meth, heroin, the big
yes,
stuff, the big
yes,
stuff.
yes. And that kind of opened my eyes to, oh, okay, so this has been going on a couple miles from me. I had
Yeah,
no idea. Never seen the stuff. Never knew anybody who did it until later. Boom.
that's surprising that it was the mental health aspect that got you to notice it rather than like high school or anything like that. Because I've often said on my other social medias that I grew up Roman Catholic, went to Catholic school for 9 years of my life, and it's always that these are poor people that have no other way out. And then I get to high school and it's like, no, these are experimental teenagers that want to see something happen.
Right. In this case, it's like the parents are on it big time and
Oof.
causing mental distress for the kids.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's like, now when it comes to alcohol, that was the most prevalent, at least for me growing up, that was the most prevalent. Marijuana wasn't that big of a deal. It never was. I still don't think it's that big of a deal, except when it comes to the individual case rather than just a blanket term. But alcohol obviously is uh, it's kind of glossed over in today's society and has been glossed over for many, many years on how destructive it can be to those of us who have addictive personalities. Same is true with cigarettes, but not nearly to the effect that alcohol does.
Right.
Cigarettes is more of a personal injury that you're doing to yourself, a slow suicide, if you will. Coming from a person who smokes cigars, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yes. It's my choice, my body.
It is.
My body, my choice.
I am not trying to be holier than thou at all. Like, I know what I'm doing to myself. I'm saying I'm doing it with you. Yeah, but alcohol definitely I could see being a constant.
Right. I mean, if you're an asshole and you drink, it's just going to make you a bigger asshole.
Yeah. In fact, that kind of harkens on the second one that I learned about, which was cocaine growing up, because that one is even worse than alcohol when it comes to intensifying emotions. It makes you bigger than life. If you're an asshole, you're 10 times the asshole, not an even bigger. You are 10 times the asshole that you are.
And you think you're a god.
And you want to get everything done now.
Yes. Because it only lasts so long. So, you got to.
Right. It's in and out of your system real quick. And hey, again, this is not us shaming anyone for experimentation with these things. You are adults, hopefully. When you're using these things, you should know the negative repercussions of using these things. Please be careful.
You'll know pretty fast if you're someone who should be doing that or not.
Right. Like, I have been told, I swear it's going to be the next words out of my psychologist's mouth, or psychiatrist, I should say, psychiatrist's mouth, that I should microdose. But I can't because of job related things, but I have been told that.
I mean, that's a new and interesting field there that a lot of therapists and psychiatrists are working on with the hallucinogen.
Right. Yes, and that's what I mean. I'm not talking about marijuana, because that was brought up like second session with my therapist, and I told him I can't do that because of my job. Not that I have a problem with it.
Right.
But microdosing more of the, I guess you'd say, illicit mental altering drugs. All right, question number 3 for Brother Blair. Do you think that lodges should prioritize individuality or conformity? Should I just start playing Rage Against the Machine now, or
I've never been one for conformity, but there does need to be a little bit of that there. I mean, you've got to kind of strike a balance. You need to make sure the needs of the individual are met, but you also need to keep a pretty level standard. You can't just
agreed?
let the gates wide open and let everybody do whatever they want.
That's how you get the. That's how you get the goal. That's how you get Thalemia and the OTO.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And that's how Crowley shows up again.
He keeps showing up, doesn't he? The uninvited guest.
Just in new and different forms. No, I will agree with you on that, where the fraternity has its cornerstones, has its base foundation that should remain unchangeable and immovable. And then the individual's experience, it should be left to the individual based on this base level, these cornerstones. And then if that individual chooses to go into a ritual aspect, that's when it becomes even more so cornerstone base, because now you want to convey that message the same way every time. Sure, we can have fun with it. We've got the Shriners, we've got silly degrees like the yellow dog degree and the turtles and things like that. But the base three and even the York and Scottish Rite, blinders, it should be this.
Bloop, bloop.
You bet your sweet ass. And let's see, this will be the final question for Brother Blair from Brother Moonstrung. The entirety of the fraternity universally has now become aligned with a mega giant of commerce, such as Amazon, Google, etc. Who did we align with, and what are the pros and cons to that relationship? Again, I'm just going to start playing Rage Against the Machine.
I had to think about that one for a while. I don't like the idea of like a big mega company getting involved with anything to do with the fraternity. I mean, but it would be kind of cool if Google, because we could cut down on some misinformation, maybe.
Okay. Sort of like what happened with Twitter during the pandemic.
Right. I mean, a lot of people are against that. I know. The whole fact checker thing and censoring.
Yeah, free speech. Right.
Right. I mean, yeah. I'm not for censoring, but maybe add a little disclaimer to something that you're reading. Like, here, you can read this, but just know that this source and this source debunk this. Like,
yeah, there are conflicting results with your search.
Right. I think that'd be a little bit more digestible than just, oh, I'm going to blank this out so you can't see it.
So, all right. So, in response to that, Facebook and TikTok specifically had two different approaches from what I've seen when it comes to, at least when it came to COVID. With TikTok, as soon as you mentioned COVID, you automatically got the warning on the bottom about how if you need to find out more information, go to this link. Whereas with Facebook, it would literally block pictures or block blatant misinformation, or like give you in between posts, like these are 3 independent fact checkers that have disclaimed whatever the post above it was. Which do you think is a better option?
Probably the way that TikTok handled it, because I see the arguments about fact checkers on Facebook. People will say, well, who's fact checking this? How do we know that they're not biased? It's this whole anti-establishment. Like, who's doing this? Is it just some random guy are these people being vetted?
Right. It's one of those. It's if it's not in front of my face, it's not real.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, you have to suspend disbelief in that way. You have to realize that there are people out there that know more than you and are trying to help you understand whatever the topic is that you're trying to learn from.
So I
And
think
they're
it's always better, instead of censoring, to give more information.
right. Give them a broader, a bigger piece of the pie, if you will.
And I think we would all benefit from a little more education on how to fact check ourselves, and
Oh, absolutely.
how peer review works, how sources work, so you're not just believing everything you read.
And even when it comes to sourcing and citation, for that matter, you can source and cite anything, but those sources and sites need to have their own credibility, which harkens back to what you said, the peer reviewed, at least when it comes to more scientific terms.
Yeah. Education is key in
Yeah,
a lot of these matters.
yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate that some people are choosing homeschooling over public schooling because they fear that they're going to be nothing but robots.
Right. And I've seen that here a lot in the South.
Oh, that's right, because
It's
you work in education, right?
Yeah. Well, I work in the school, so I hear the mumblings of parents and teachers talking about homeschooling, and uh, it's. I mean, I understand some people's point of view when they say they want to homeschool. There are some valid reasons to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest turnoff from homeschooling is that there is no standardization. I don't know how it works in your state because obviously each state is different. But at least here, like private schools aren't held to the same standard that public schools are. And then homeschooling, as far as I know it, is pretty much your kid just doesn't go to school and you teach them life. So from every aspect of that, the social awkwardness going into if the kid ever does go to school or high school or anything like that, the just everything about it just screams no to me. Even though I can understand why an individual may not want to put their kid in any school system. Maybe it's a financial reason. Maybe it's a child care issue or something like that. I understand. I get it. It's the standardization of that same educational process that
And
irks
the
me.
social
Oh
aspect.
yes, yes, and the social aspect.
I mean, if your kid is alienated from everyone,
Yeah,
they're going to be awkward. There's going to be a whole set of issues if they ever meet other kids.
yeah,
They're just going to come out different.
yeah, and especially being a father of an autistic child, the social aspect has I think was the biggest um, boon to my child growing and evolving as a young going into becoming a young adult and becoming well she's going to be 8 this year, so still not even preteen, but still like her development simply from a social standpoint has grown leaps and bounds going to school because you can see her sort of plateau when she's sick, when she's home for an extended period of time and doesn't get that interaction with anyone else besides myself and my wife.
Right. I mean, we are social creatures. Even the loners and outcasts. I mean, even they need their groups, their people.
You got to stop at a bar somewhere, cowboy.
Yeah, you do. You do.
So, but that is it for his questions to Brother Blair.
All right.
I did not prepare, nor did I read any of the questions. So you are going to get my
Oh,
straight, first impression of these.
Fantastic. All right. So, questions for the Riz.
I
You're
love that
now.
that term Riz has become something of a positive thing in the vernacular of children.
It has. It has. So now you can just run with it.
Yup.
Capitalize. All right. So you're now the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of America. What are your first acts?
Oh.
Assuming there was a Grand Lodge of America.
Right. This is hypothetical completely
Yes.
because for those who don't know, there is no Grand Lodge of America nor North America. They wanted to make one. They wanted to. Never came about. What are my first acts? Every state has recognition between Prince Hall and the Grand Lodge of State because obviously we're keeping it separate. Because just for Prince Hall to keep their legacy, if nothing else, it's a beautiful legacy. As troubling as it is, the fact that they even exist, it is still their legacy, and I do not want to trample on it. But recognition in every state has recognition somehow. Um, Uniformity when it comes to ritual. And what I mean by that is um, um, how things are presented. Like right now, if you go to California, they have every volume of sacred law on the altar. Here in New Jersey, we have one at a time. Some states only have one and have edict it that way, where you can't show anything else. Yeah, I think those are the two big ones that I would do if I became a supreme grand hoo-ha of of America.
I do. I agree with you. I like the idea of having every version of sacred law on the altar. I like that. I think it's
If
neat.
even if it's not on the altar, the fact that you have it, you have to have it,
Right.
and you have to acknowledge it that it's there, and perhaps maybe even like what's available to me here in New Jersey is that yes, it can only be one, but it could be any one of them. It doesn't always have to be the Holy Bible. I can put the Talmud up there, and we can open a lodge with the Talmud. We can open a lodge with the Quran. So the nuance of having every single one, those would be big altars if we're putting 6 or 7 books on top of them.
It would.
you know, but just the idea that we're supposed to be this open fraternity that's open to men of all faiths. Show that. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on.
Oh, I'm dying.
Okay, that's just more exposition for the first question.
Ah, yes. He is bit wordy, isn't he? Even when he's not talking.
Oh, is that it?
He only asked me one question. He asked you 3. The hell what is this nonsense?
The deck was stacked against you.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Here,
Did you think I was going to have some deep and mythological answer for you?
I guess so. Let's read the whole thing. Let's just make sure. Okay, you're now the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of America. What are your first acts? You have to overcome the following challenges: standardization of ritual, documentation and centralization of resources, historical protections, and any other details you may come across. You've 1 year to do it. How do you build your line? Who would you elect as your grand line? You can pick any Freemason, living or dead.
Oh, geez. Okay, so
There you go.
all right. So I had to switch over to see the rest of this question. Standardization of ritual is pretty specific. We kind of discussed that already. I haven't traveled as much as some other brothers have, but I have seen little things that I like from other jurisdictions, such as things that go on during the degrees. Um, Like in New Jersey, there is no monologue given during the third degree after a certain act is performed. In other states, there is. I like that monologue. I think it should be part of it. Um, compared to Florida and New Jersey, the closing charge is optional. It should not be optional. It should be every meeting to remind everyone. And that's in English. You can look that up. I'll say it later if Blair wants me to. But that the closing charge should be every meeting to remind the brothers of what it is. There are some opening charges. Some states have opening charges. I don't see a necessity to do that, but then again, I have not heard them, so I can't say whether or not that would be punctual. Every lodge would be modernized to the point where minutes and bills are presented on a website or a server for all of the members to see digitally. So you're not reading them individually on Lodge, and you can focus on what needs to be done.
But what about all those old folks who don't use computers?
Guess what? You can see it on your phone because Lord knows they all have iPhones or Androids, and they're all looking at pretty ladies on them.
Following
I don't
those
want to
Facebook
hear it,
accounts.
Grandpa. They don't have Instagram to share with their babies. They have Instagram to share with their baby mamas. So, every lodge should be digitized, both the Grand Lodge and the individual lodges, and digitized. Maybe not so much in the fact of having a Facebook page, but definitely having at least a website with a members only section that those members can go and use to read the minutes, discuss the bills of the previous meeting. Believe me, we have that at my lodge, and it saves so much time. It literally goes, the secretary stands up, looks at the worship master and says, "Worshipful Master, the meeting minutes for the meeting of blank month, blank day are posted to the members section of the website for discussion of the members." He sits down, "Worshipful Master, to the brethren. Brethren, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, motion carries. Done.
I'm taking note of that.
Done." Like, it's over and done with. If there is an issue with something that was going on, you should have known about it. You get an email every month from the Worshipful Master, including, like, you get a digital trestle board and you get a physical trestle board if so desired. And in that email has a link to your member site, all of the information. It's all right there. So there's no, like, I don't know. I didn't know we did that at last meeting. Well, it's right there at your disposal. We have meeting minutes dating back since before I was a master mason, before I was a mason, period. So don't want to hear it. In fact, I think some of the more tech savvy guys are in the process of digitizing the historical minutes of the lodge that were actually written down by the brothers, since my lodge has existed since 1849. So there's some history. All right, what was the rest of this question? It says,
right. Who would you elect
documentation.
your grand line?
Oh, oof.
Living or dead?
I
Mason.
know, that's the part that gets me. Oh man, it'd probably all be dead people, honestly. Like, that's so difficult because I'd love to bring back some of our forefathers just so they could see how the craft has changed and know, like Benjamin Franklin, duh. Like, he's gonna be part of my grand line. He's gonna be something in my grand line. I'd have to put him just to see, so he could see the advancements in science and whatnot that has gone down. Um, uh, should I have Albert Pike there? Possibly. just to rub it in his face that the Negroes are now more prominent in lodges, but also because he was a well-versed man and he did have an education for his time period. He was a lawyer and whatnot. So, uh, yeah, and he could definitely handle more of the esoteric end of the discussion.
Talk about a grumpy past master.
He would be. He
He would
absolutely be. Yes. Not the way they did it in my year. Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know.
know.
Sit your ass down. He'd be gavelled often. Um, he'd be grand steward or something. No. Uh,
Making the Tyler.
yeah, grand. Just because he wants to hold the sword. That's such a stacked question. Like, because there's even Masons around, like Arturo de Hoyos, even Brad Billings, that I'd love to put because of their modern, like Brad because he is a younger Mason, Arturo because of his extensive work in uh, Masonic history and debunking the conspiracy theorists. I would absolutely avoid any of the brothers that went the extreme esoteric route, such as A.E. Waite and or Waite. It's Waite, right?
Yeah.
No H. A.E. Waite or even Manly P. Hall or any of those guys because they went to the extreme route of esotericism, and I don't think that they deserve to be part of a grand line system, especially when you're in control of the entire nation.
Well, with a lot of the guys that you mentioned, I feel like there would be a power struggle. Like those guys are so big
Right.
that I feel like they would try to take control. They try to get some power.
They try to carve it up for themselves type of thing.
Yeah.
Now you're referring it to Hall and Waite and
Probably even Pike.
yeah, especially with Waite in there because Waite was such an esoteric, and he even went and formed or became part of the Golden Dawn. So because he wanted to find more esoteric truth. I don't know, man. There's just so many. I would have a position that was specifically um, for relationship with Prince Hall. Like obviously I would say that recognition for Prince Hall would be, number one, it would have to be across the board. Every state would recognize Prince Hall. I would ask Prince Hall if they would allow dual membership between the two of us, because not every state does that. In fact, New Jersey, it was Prince Hall's decision to not allow dual membership, not ours. And it was because they were concerned about membership numbers on their end. So I would ask Prince Hall if they would allow that, but I would definitely have some kind of like, I don't know the right term, not viceroy, but like a go-between, so to speak, between the two of us. That would be specifically just for relation between Prince Hall and this now united Grand Lodge of America, of the United States.
Good answer.
What else? That's historical protections, obviously. If it's already, everything would be digitized, encrypted, you know, on top of each other. I would have people just linking everything to each other. Where did this come from? Oh, because Waite did this, but Manly P said this during the time that he wasn't a Mason. Well, it goes back to here, and there'd be a whole, uh, uh, um, not SSL, but what's it called? Database, for just that. Everyone would be using a grand view or something like that. Everyone would be using some kind of system to maintain everything. There would still be written record, just because I'm that guy that still thinks that, one EMP will kill us all, at least technologically. So written record would not be completely erased, but it would be kept. Um, yeah.
Have ourselves a uh, technological version of the Library of Alexandria.
Yes, absolutely. That would go to include not only things that are written, like the Regis manuscript and things like that, but things that were written by Masons, like Arturo's writing, like Hodap's writings, things like that. That would be absolutely part of it. And they would absolutely be set in sections of, like, this is strictly Masonic. This is vaguely Masonic. There's things that we took from, because again, Masonry is eclectic. We don't have our own stuff. We took it from everywhere else. Nothing is trademarked, although I would absolutely trademark this symbol.
Yeah.
If this is the Grand Lodge of the United States, I am trademarking the square and compass, so no one can use it in the United States in a specific pattern. Because if you notice, the United Grand Lodge of England, it doesn't look like this. It's not overlaid. They're separate, and that's how they start every lodge. Now, I don't know if they have a copyright or a trademark on that, but that's how they present it. I would do it like this. I would copyright that symbol laid out that way.
Why hasn't that been done?
Ooh,
Because really, I
I
feel like it
wonder.
would cut down on a lot of clandestine practices.
That's a
If you can't take the square and compass and just, ooh, we're Masons.
that would be. I think that something like that, especially if you form this united, Grand Lodge of the United States. I think something like that, even a strict even copyright on that symbol, what laid out like that, would absolutely cut down on, okay, if you're going to buy from McCoy or JP Luther, you would have to provide your charter or your warrant or some kind of connection to this now established Grand Lodge, to say, yes, I am a Mason and I'm buying it from you for some reason. That isn't to say that we should cut out other companies such as like Masonic Revival or even wand stuff. It should be able, like things like that, like hat, ball caps, pins, things like that, open to anybody. But regalia, specifically regalia, the public shouldn't be able to get it. There's too many instances of guys going out buying the stuff on eBay at, like, in large quantities, and then saying that they're Masons and doing nefarious things.
Right. So, like a fair use agreement kind of thing.
Right, right. Yeah, like, sure, you can have your little Masonic shop and have the symbol, whatnot, and, ask permission to use it, but you can't go around claiming that you are a Mason. Like uh like the symbol for the Red Cross. It's iconic. It's actually part of the Geneva Convention that you cannot use the Red Cross anywhere except for where the Red Cross is. It's a war crime. It's literally a
Interesting.
you cannot, like, even in video games, and that was the biggest joke, is Among Us, the video game Among Us, in their med bay they had red crosses in there, because you don't think about it, you're just like, whatever, this means it's health, they're getting health in the med bay. No, it's a war crime. Technically, you're not supposed to do that. Now, that's not to say that the UN, like, came after the developers or anything, but still, it's just one of those things, like, oh shit, like, this is a copyrighted thing.
Right. I mean, I've seen something kind of like that with uh, denominations of Christianity, like Methodists, for instance. They have the cross with a flame, and only Methodist churches can use that.
Oh, true. Like Greek Orthodox has it with the slant on the bottom.
Yeah.
Right, right. And that when you go to this church, that's the message you're going to get.
You're going to have a certain standard. It's going to be this, this, this.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think I agree with that. And that's another reason why this particular alignment of the square and compass would be my choice, because we're separating ourselves from the United Grand Lodge. The way they laid out, the way they have themselves presented, that's UGLE. This is UGUSA. So, yeah, I think that's I think that covers everything in that question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. For the next 15 minutes, let's just rag on Moonstrung and his blonde hair. No. So, is there any final thoughts for tonight, Brother Blair?
Moonstrung's a loser for going vacationing, not showing up
in your backyard.
In my backyard, he just came up, set up a tent, didn't even ask me.
How far away is he from you? Did you look that up?
He's roughly 3 hours.
Oh, you should so just harass him.
Like 3.5, 3 hours away.
I would so just. I mean, for a state like yours, that's not that far.
No. Yeah, I was telling my spouse about it, and they were like, "Yeah, just tell him to come on down." I'm like, "He's on vacation,
right,
with his family. Come on, I can't just intrude. Be like, hey, come on down.
Tell him to come to lodge night. No.
Hey, there you go.
Traveling.
Tug on that cable toe.
Yeah. What does Brother Tessier say? ABT, always be traveling.
Always be traveling.
But I do look forward to next week's conversation. If we do go through with it, I think that next week's conversation will be interesting, where we talk about the cosplay elements of Freemasonry. And I mean that in both a literal and a figurative way.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
So it's definitely a topic that I think goes a little too far with some Masons in their heads.
But I'm smelling what you're cooking.
So until next time, I am Worshipful Brother Drew, as always, with my cohort and co-host, Brother Blair. Thank you for tuning in to 357 Radio. Good night and good luck.